Hi, glad to see you on my channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. It's important to me. Have a good view. Useless and legendary. The history of the battleship Yamato is well known to fans of naval history, but its main details are worth briefly repeating. Since the late 20s, the Japanese Navy leadership has been developing projects of new battleships for the hypothetical replacement of obsolete ships built during the First World War. For several years of intense design work, accompanied by various intrigues, there was a project to build a series of giant super battleships, surpassing in power all the existing ships of their class in the world. Under the shipbuilding program of 1937, were laid down two ships with a standard displacement of 68,000 tons, armed with 9 460-meter guns. These Leviathans were built in the strictest secrecy. Their characteristics and even their appearance were concealed. The first ship, launched in 1940 and commissioned in December 1941, bore the meaningful name Yamato, the poetic name of Japan. From the planned series of sister ships built and put into service, the second ship, Musashi, and the third, urgently redesigned into a heavy aircraft carrier, Shinano. The fate of the Yamato battleships illustrated how the realities of naval warfare changed during World War II. Initially, unique ships were considered too valuable to risk. The real baptism of fire for the super battleship and its sister ship Musashi was the defense of the Philippines in October 1944. By then, both ships could do little under American airstrikes. Musashi was killed, and Yamato, very pale, showed himself in the Battle of Samar Island on October 25, 1944, where his opponents were destroyers, and small escort aircraft carriers. By early 1945, Yamato was the world's only superlinker and one of the few remaining in service large ships of the Japanese Navy. In the early days of April, the pride of the Imperial Navy was ordered on a suicidal combat cruise to Okinawa, where an American naval landing force had just landed under the protection of the main force of the U.S. Pacific Fleet. In the operation called Tengo Sakusen, Yamato could be accompanied by only one light cruiser and 8 destroyers. There was no air support. On the afternoon of April 6, 1945, the detachment left Kure and headed south. The following morning, the ships were detected by American reconnaissance planes. From about 11 a.m. to 2 p.m., Yamato and her escort were continuously attacked by deck planes of the 58th Operational Detachment of the U.S. 5th Fleet, about 400 machines in all. At the cost of achieved an estimated 10 torpedo hits and 13 bomb hits. At about 14 the crew began to leave the sinking Yamato. 20 minutes later on the ship exploded artillery cellar of the main caliber. On the battleship killed more than 3,000 people, only 269 were saved. Of the entire compound survived 4 destroyers, picked up the survivors. The loss of the Yamato initially looked like a symbolic suicide of the last combat-ready ships of the Imperial Navy. This episode could not but remain in the collective memory of the Japanese as a romantic example of exemplary military valor and self-sacrifice in the face of inevitable defeat. And the image of a giant super battleship, which had no analogs in world shipbuilding, invariably awakened patriotic pride even in the formally pacifist post-war society. It was a curious phenomenon that such sentiments went far beyond the sphere of military history buffs and penetrated into mass culture. A landmark event was the 1974 release of the anime series Space Battleship Yamato, created by a team of young authors, among whom stood out artist and screenwriter Leiji Matsumoto, who later earned a reputation as a classic. The true story became the basis for a grand space opera about the adventures of a spaceship built in the hull of the sunken Yamato. The plot, openly using motifs and images of the Second World War, gained incredible popularity. Before 1983, 2 more seasons and 5 full-length films of the saga were released. It is safe to say that the cult series was literally the second birth of the battleship Yamato in the eyes of the Japanese. In Japanese culture, there was a somewhat paradoxical situation in which a fantastic interpretation of the fate of the famous ship appeared on the screen almost before its realistic image. However, At the beginning of the 21st century, the masters of cinematography finally said their word. The year 2005 marked the 60-year anniversary of the sinking of the super battleship. Japanese society has shown an undying interest in this topic. For example, a museum dedicated to the Yamato was opened in the city of Kure, known for its huge naval base. Not surprisingly, in this atmosphere, filming of the feature film Otokotachi no Yamato began in the spring of 2005. The literary basis of the film was a popular book in Japan, which has the reputation of a modern classic, the novel of the same name by the writer Hemi Jun, first published in 1983. Materials from the Yamato Museum in Kure were used extensively in the work. Thank you for watching the video to the end. Forget to put a like and subscribe to the channel. It's important to me. See you soon.